The glass slipped. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It didn't shatter. It tilted, just enough for pale champagne to arc through the air and land on a woman's wrist. For half a second, nothing happened. Then a voice sliced through the room. "Are you blind?" Every head turned. The woman whose wrist had been splashed stood frozen, her hand hovering awkwardly in the air as if unsure whether she was allowed to move it. She was old, well past 70, with silver hair pinned neatly behind her ears and a posture that suggested she'd learned, over a lifetime, how to take up as little space as possible. Across from her stood a younger woman in a fitted ivory dress, her mouth twisted in disgust as she examined the moisture on her skin like it was poison. "Do you have any idea how much this bracelet costs?" the younger woman snapped, holding her arm out for others to see. No one answered. The room itself seemed to pull back. This was the inner hall of Valmont Echelon, a private showroom hidden behind velvet-lined doors, accessible only to clients whose names never appeared on public lists. Everything here was muted, voices, footsteps, even breathing, as if sound itself cost money. And now, silence had become a decision. The elderly woman bowed her head immediately. "I'm so sorry," she said in careful, accented English. "I did not see." "You didn't see?" the younger woman interrupted. "Then why are you even here?" A few people shifted uncomfortably. A man near the display cases glanced toward security. Two guards stood by the wall, hands clasped in front of them, eyes fixed straight ahead. No one moved. The older woman reached into her purse with shaking fingers, pulling out a handkerchief. She dabbed clumsily at the champagne, her movements slow, apologetic, almost rehearsed. "I will clean it," she said softly. The younger woman laughed, sharp and humorless. "Oh no," she said. "You don't get to touch me." That was when Amara Reed stepped forward. She hadn't planned to. She'd already felt the instinct rise in her chest, the familiar warning that told her to stay still, stay small, stay invisible. It was the instinct that had kept her employed, unremarkable, and safe since the day she'd been hired. But something about the way the old woman's hands trembled, about the way the room had silently agreed this was acceptable, made that instinct feel suddenly unbearable. "Ma'am," Amara said calmly, positioning herself beside the older woman before she could stop herself. "Please allow me." Every eye snapped to her. The younger woman turned slowly, disbelief written across her face. "Excuse me?" Amara kept her voice steady. "I'm very sorry for the inconvenience," she said, inclining her head slightly. "The spill was accidental. If you'd like, I can have the bracelet cleaned immediately and arrange a replacement clasp if there's any damage." The younger woman stared at her like she'd just spoken out of turn in church. "And who," she said slowly, "do you think you are?" Amara didn't flinch. "My name is Amara. I work here." That earned a few quiet gasps. Not because of what she said, but because she'd said anything at all. Employees didn't intervene here. Not unless instructed. Especially not against clients. The younger woman let out a short, mocking laugh. "Then stay in your place." Amara nodded once. "My place is making sure our guests are treated with respect." The room seemed to tighten. "You're choosing the wrong side," the woman said, her tone dropping. "Do you know who I am?" Amara met her eyes. "I know exactly who you're talking to." That was the moment the air changed. Footsteps echoed from above. Measured, unhurried. People looked up toward the mezzanine balcony that overlooked the hall. A tall man stood there, one hand resting lightly on the railing, his expression unreadable. He hadn't been there a moment ago. Or maybe he had, and no one had noticed. He began to descend the stairs. Each step was quiet, but the effect was immediate. Conversations died mid-breath. A man near the entrance straightened instinctively. One of the guards subtly adjusted his stance. The younger woman's confidence flickered. The man reached the floor and stopped. He didn't look at her. Instead, he turned toward the elderly woman and bowed. Not a casual nod, not a polite dip of the head. A full, formal bow, deep enough that his spine aligned perfectly parallel to the floor. The effect was electric. The elderly woman's eyes widened. "Jaemin," she said softly. "You don't have to." He straightened slowly. "I do." Then, for the first time, he looked at the younger woman. "You will apologize," he said calmly. The younger woman scoffed, though the sound lacked conviction. "To her?" "Yes." "And if I don't?" His gaze didn't change. "Then you will leave." A pause. The younger woman glanced around, searching for support. She found none. Faces that had once mirrored her confidence now avoided her entirely. She swallowed. "I'm sorry," she muttered, the words stiff and insincere. The elderly woman inclined her head graciously. "Thank you." The man turned back to Amara. "For your courage," he said quietly. "Thank you." And just like that, he offered his arm to his mother and guided her toward the private exit. They were gone within seconds. The room exhaled. No one clapped. No one spoke. People simply began moving again, as if resuming a performance that had been briefly interrupted. Amara stood where she was, heart pounding so hard she was sure others could hear it. She expected reprimand. Instead, the floor manager approached her with a strange expression, half awe, half fear. "Amara," he said carefully, "you're needed in the back." She followed him through the corridor, her mind racing. She replayed every second, every word. Had she crossed a line? Had she just ended her career? They stopped outside a private office. Inside, a woman she'd never seen before sat behind the desk. She looked up and smiled politely. "Ms. Reed," she said, "my employer would like to request your services." Amara hesitated. "Your employer?" "Yes," the woman replied. "Mr. CO." The name settled heavily in the air. That night, alone in her apartment, Amara typed the name into her phone. The results made her stomach drop. Her instinct screamed at her to walk away. But something deeper, quieter, told her she was already too far in. And this was only the beginning. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like the video. It helps more than you think. And let me know in the comments, would you have stepped in or stayed silent? Amara barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the bow again. Not the movement itself, but the effect it had on the room. The way power rearranged itself without a single raised voice. The way silence had obeyed him. By morning, she'd convinced herself she'd imagined most of it. People like that didn't reach back for people like her. At exactly 9:30, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She stared at it for a long moment before answering. "Ms. Reed," a woman's voice said calmly. "This is Hannah. Mr. CO would like to see you today." Amara swallowed. "About yesterday?" "Yes." "Am I required to come?" There was a pause, not awkward, just deliberate. "No," Hannah said, "but he would appreciate it." That was somehow worse. They met in a private consultation room within Valmont Echelon, one Amara had only ever prepared for other people. The walls were darker here, the lighting warmer, designed to make time slow down. Jaemin CO was already seated when she arrived. His mother sat beside him, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Amara bowed instinctively. "You don't need to do that," Madam CO said kindly. "Come, sit." Amara did. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Jaemin leaned forward slightly. "You could have stayed silent yesterday." "Yes," Amara said. "You didn't." "No." "Why?" She considered lying. It would have been safer. But something in his gaze suggested he'd know. Because everyone else did, she said quietly. His eyes softened, not dramatically, but enough for her to notice. My mother dislikes crowds, he said. She came because she wanted to see the watches, not to be reminded of how people behave when they think no one important is watching. Madame Co smiled faintly. You reminded them. Amara felt heat rise behind her eyes. She looked down quickly. I didn't think, she admitted. I just stood there. That, Jamin said, was thinking. He slid a slim folder across the table. I'd like you to handle my account, he said, directly. Amara hesitated. I'm not senior staff. You are now. The words landed softly, but they changed everything. From that day on, Amara's routine shifted. She wasn't promoted publicly. There were no announcements, no congratulations. But doors began opening for her, without explanation. Private appointments, discreet requests, conversations that stopped when she entered, not out of suspicion, but recalibration. She learned quickly that Jamin tested people not with pressure, but with patience. He arrived on time. He listened. He remembered. Once during a consultation, he asked her opinion, not about the watch, but about the room. Too quiet, he asked. No, Amara said. Too controlled. He smiled. Good. Over the weeks, Madame Co began requesting Amara specifically. They spoke about small things at first, tea, travel, craftsmanship, then deeper ones. People confuse gentleness with weakness. Madame Co said once, stirring her cup. They are very wrong. Amara nodded. They mistake volume for strength. Exactly, the older woman said. One evening, as Amara prepared to leave, she overheard two clients whispering near the entrance. Did you hear? One murmured. Celeste Rowan wasn't invited to the Hamilton dinner. That's impossible. It already happened. Amara didn't stop walking. She never mentioned Celeste's name again. The shift came slowly, but unmistakably. At a charity gala months later, Amara attended as a guest. Not working, not assisting. Invited. She wore a simple black dress. Nothing loud, nothing strategic. As she entered, conversations dipped, not in shock, but recognition. Madame Co spotted her immediately. There you are, she said warmly, reaching out. The gesture wasn't lost on anyone. Introductions followed. Not as staff. As Amara. Later that night, standing near the balcony, Amara caught her reflection in the glass. She looked the same, but she felt different. Not louder, not bigger, just solid. When Jamin joined her, he didn't say anything at first. You were never invisible, he said eventually. People just didn't know how to look. Amara smiled. They're learning. Yes, he said. They are. As the night wound down, she realized something that startled her. She wasn't waiting anymore. Not for permission. Not for recognition. She'd stepped forward once, and the world had adjusted around that truth. If this story moved you, take a second to like the video. It helps this channel reach more people who love powerful storytelling like this. And comment below what moment stood out to you the most. If you want more stories about quiet courage, hidden power, and lives changed by a single decision, subscribe now. You won't regret what's coming next. Because sometimes the strongest people in the room are the ones who don't need to raise their voice to be heard.